In the previous video, I discussed the close connection between political ideology, philosophy, and visual and applied arts, ending with a short introduction on ideological level, meaning the conflict between anarcho-democratism, another name for revolutionary democratism, and utopian socialism, that erupted in the second half of the 19th century. In this video, I discussed the cause of this conflict, the two political figures who started this ideological conflict, which resulted in a split between democratism and socialism. This development occurred simultaneously with the decline of materialism, the materialist values, the belief that the moral, intellectual, and emotional being of each individual was shaped by the environment, which were especially visible in realism and social realism in the visual arts. Materialism and philosophical nihilism, which were a reaction to idealism, romanticism, and philosophical Hegelianism, gave way to a revaluation for the idealism of Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, linked to a post-Hegelianism in philosophy, named existentialism. Symbolism flourished in painting, which rejected high bourgeois conventions and was influenced by spiritualism, socialism and anarchism, and belief systems that were alien to the higher bourgeois world. And it was between socialism, more specifically utopian socialism, and anarcho-democratism, a form of anarchism, in which an ideological rupture occurred. It was primarily late 19th century Marxism and, following it, Marxism-Leninism that caused this rupture, causing democratic socialism to split into two separate political doctrines, a process that continued from the second half of the 19th century onwards, in particular Western Europe, but especially in Tsarist Russia. Nihilism, including Narodnikism, was in fact the last representative and carrier of the enlightened, authentic democratic socialism in its original form, which could be traced back to the ideas of the 18th century Enlightenment, a combination of anarcho-democratism, an early form of anarchism, linked to utopian socialism. The split or rupture between democratism and socialism was the result of the conflict between the emerging Marxism of the German revolutionary socialist Karl Heinrich Marx and Bakunism, on the other hand, the social anarchism of the Russian revolutionary anarchist Mikhail Alexandrovich Bakunin, and the struggle between centralism and federalism. The biggest proponent of the division of the authentic enlightened democratic socialism of the 18th century and its 19th century political followers, both nihilism and Narodnikism, into two separate ideologies, was none other than the Russian revolutionary, politician and political theorist Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, better known as Vladimir Lenin, the founding father of Marxism-Leninism, Bolshevism, and the former Soviet Union. To quote from a book about Vladimir Lenin, in this book, What are the Narodniki and how do they fight against social democracy? Vladimir Lenin says of their pretension to continue the tradition of the revolutionary Democrats. And such gentlemen talk about the ideals of the fathers, i.e. Hegelians, claim that they, precisely they, uphold the traditions of the times when revolutionary France under Napoleon Bonaparte spread the ideas of socialism across Europe, and the adoption of these ideas in Tsarist Russia gave rise to the theories and teachings of Alexander Ivanovich Herzen, spokesperson of the Narodniki or Narodniks, and Nikolai Gavrilovich Chernyshevsky, revolutionary Democrat, utopian socialist, and leading theoretician of both Russian nihilism and the Narodniks. This is an impertinence. You, Vladimir Lenin, is referring here to the nihilists and Narodniki. You are soiling these ideals. Vladimir Lenin then says the following about authentic democratic socialism, an aforementioned hybrid of anarcho-democratism and utopian socialism that emerged in the era of enlightenment. The time when both doctrines, democratism and socialism, had merged into an inseparable and indivisible whole, as, for example, at the time of the Enlightenment in the 18th century and during the heydays of nihilism and Narodnikism between 1860 and 1880 had been the case, are now irrevocably a thing of the past. Now the complete opposite is the case. There is a complete abyss between these two political ideologies, and for the Russian socialists and socialists in general, it is more than time to realize this and to recognize the inevitability and imperative necessity of the complete and final break of utopian socialism with the ideas of anarcho-democratism. Vladimir Lenin wanted to bring about this split or rupture between the two political ideologies with the aim of disconnecting utopian socialism from anarchism and democracy and replacing it with authoritarianism or even totalitarianism and a dictatorship. However, in contrast to Russia and parts of Western Europe and the ideological attack by Vladimir Lenin on both political nihilism and Narodnikism, authentic democratic socialism in, for example, Indonesia then the Dutch East Indies, managed to maintain its position against the rapidly emerging Marxism and later Marxism-Leninism. Miraculously, non-Marxist democratic socialism or revolutionary democratism managed to survive well into the 20th century, as the following video shows.